You're listening to the official Minnesota Wild podcast, presented by Acrisure.
With 4 draft picks and no first round pick, I mean, have you had a draft that you know you had such slim shots at picking players, and how much how much harder does that make your job? Does it add more pressure to try to hit on the few times that you get to take a crack this year?
Yeah, you know what, I think as a group, we certainly we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? I think even without a first round pick, to a man, if you ask the scouts in the room, we still believe we're going to hit on players, and that's how we approached it all year. We're gonna we're at pick 52, and we want to make hay with what we have. So, and to your other point, no, never draft with just 4 selections. But had similar situations with, just a couple of late round picks, and you just have to really trust your regional scouts at that point, the work that you did. And, obviously these are 17, 18-year-old players, so there's still projection here. There is not a feeling from our end that these in any way are wasted picks. These have value. And we're excited to get to work on, if it's just Saturday, then it's just Saturday.
And I just have 2 more for you. So when you're making your list now, do you do it like it's a normal draft just in case all of a sudden, Billy comes to you and says, guess what? We just surprise, we got the 10th pick. Do you do it like that, or do you really hone in on the second round guys?
We still built a list that just like it was a normal year. So, we're still placing players, from, starting right at 1. Is there less debate? The first 5 players for us, or maybe the first 10 players or 15, of course, because, at the moment it doesn't look like, that's an exercise that is going to come to fruition for us, but it's still a good discussion. It's still healthy for our group. We're never 100% in unison. So to hear another scout's opinion on why, they have a certain player at 2 or 3 or 4 is all healthy discussion, makes us better as a group. And, we have to trust each other year in and year out. So it's always a worthwhile exercise. And of course, if Billy comes to us, we've got to be ready. We can't be surprised. We've got to act quickly, and, on draft day, things happen fast. So that clock is ticking. So either we got to be ready for a change, or if we're excited about a player that's still there, is there any way that we can get there, even if it's not draft capital? So we're prepared. We're still going through scenarios, but we're obviously focused on second round, which is tough. It'll lead to some good discussion Friday night at the close of the draft. We'll hang around, and talk about which players are there, which ones we expected to still be there, and hopefully hone in on a player that's going to be very helpful for the Minnesota Wild.
And just my last one for you, the decentralized draft, how does that change things for you guys? I mean, obviously you sort of dealt with it in COVID. I think it was your first draft here where you did it at Tria. Will it be the exact same setup in the locker room and all that?
I believe so. We'll be in Tria, working out of the locker room. There's advantages to it. There's a chance for us as a group to continue discussions if we want to have some visuals, whether it's watch a video on a player. There's still work that we can do that's hard to do at the draft table. You sort of, when you're at the draft table, you're talking in code. You don't want to use names. So in this scenario, it makes it easier. But there's things that are advantageous about being in person too. But it's going to be great to get our group together this week, and we're excited.
Thanks, Judd.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, Judd. Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
At 52, just in the second round, like how difficult is that to handicap, since there could be so much unpredictability before that? Just how do you project, the caliber of player that you would get at that pick?
Yeah, it's really hard to project who's going to be there, but I think we can, with some semblance of reality, maybe talk about 6 or 8 players that we think have a chance to be there. And when we build our list, we build the list the same way, with the same, conviction and support, whether it be on a character assessment, whether it be the game reports all year, the discussion we have. So we'll be firm in our list, and really this situation at 52, we have to let things sort of unfold in front of us, and then act when the opportunity is there.
So your priorities, or just what you look for, they don't change despite the uniqueness of this situation in terms of scouting the player and making those calls?
Yeah, I mean, still the hallmarks of what we look for in players, and each draft is different. I mean, you can find speed in a draft, you can find some size, hockey sense, compete. So we'll stay true to the sort of the hallmarks of what we talk about internally and the guide from Billy and what he envisions our team looking like on the ice. So we want players that are going to be successful in our organization, develop, with our current coaching staff and development staff. So we want to stay true to sort of our hallmarks, our pillars of what we envision a Minnesota Wild player looking like.
How would you just describe the talent in the draft as a whole and just what stands out about this year's class?
You know what? I think, maybe this draft at the top is a little forward heavy. But every draft has players that, there's goaltenders here in this draft. They're sprinkled in. This wasn't a particularly strong year for the U.S. national team, but there's still players playing in the U.S., playing in college, playing at high levels. So you can find players in every draft. This one, as I mentioned, is probably a little forward heavy at the top, and has some good depth at center, which is, what a lot of teams look for.
Just kind of about some of the recent first round picks and just the trajectory they've been on and what you've made of that. If that's kind of the timeline you would have figured for them when you made these selections. I mean, we see where Aziv is, Yurov's coming over, but even someone like Ogren and Strammel, what have you seen from those types of players?
Yeah, you know what? It was a really exciting year for Charlie to watch the, sort of the rebirth, if you will. The player that we saw with the national program at the U17, the U18 level. No doubt about it, had some challenges his first 2 years in college, but he did work off ice, put a lot of, changed his body, got lighter, was in a great environment, competitive team, competing for a national title and hopefully will again this coming season. So that was great to see. Liam Ogren obviously got an early taste at the National Hockey League level. And then went down, and I had a chance to see him in Springfield late in the year, had 2 goals, stands out at that level, which is exciting. His shot, his skating, he's physically very strong already. So I think this was a good learning experience for him this year. And I think he's probably going to show up in the camp really hungry, to prove himself. So excited about his trajectory, and, Yurov, comes off a bit of an injury-riddled season, but prior to wins the KHL championship, is their top line center, top scorer. He has continued to develop the way we see. We love, obviously, the transition to middle ice. I played a lot of wing in his draft year. So an exciting player, but these guys all take time. Zeev continues to win, goes over to world championships and wins a gold. So, we have players in the Memorial Cup. We have, guys having, playing meaningful hockey and late into the season and winning championships is important for us long-term for building culture and their future success.
Last one for me is there anyone else whose developments impressed you or anyone else you're eager to watch as they turn pro or anyone else of the recent picks that really stand out to you?
The guys that stand out to me are the ones that are turning pro. I'm really excited to see what Riley Heidt does in Iowa this year. And, Kupalainen, who had a lot of success in the OHL, went back home this year to Finland and is now returning to North America. So there's always adjustments from, the big ice to small ice. He's been here before, though, and has had success. So excited to see what those two do entering into Iowa. Obviously, some changes down there. There should be a really motivated, hungry group. Those are two that stand out for me.
Thanks, Judd.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Judd, since you're talking about young guys, how about David Jiricek? You didn't draft him, but he certainly comes in with a lot of fanfare. How have you seen him continue to develop?
Yeah, you know what? David was a really highly touted player in his draft year. Partly the level that he was playing against men, the size package, the physicality, the assertiveness he plays with, and, no surprise, he can really shoot the puck too. So His development path has been a little up and down. I don't think there's any surprise in that. And part of it is too, he's gone through a number of coaches. He's been in 2 organizations now. He's been up, he's been down, which part of that is a testament to how close he is. But also just that there's some refinements in his game that need to come. And I think that's part of the process. Still very excited of him. He's excited, great kid. Puts in the work, and we still believe he's certainly going to be there and be a big part of this team.
Last one for me, the local crop coming into the 2025 draft, the Minnesota kids. What are you seeing from them in this version of the draft?
Yeah, you know what? Obviously, there's always hallmarks to kids from Minnesota. Great skill level, skating. But you know what? And they're smattered everywhere, whether it be playing with the national team, playing in the USHL, staying home. You got, you guys scoring 50 goals in high school. You've got, a dual sport athlete making a lot of noise as a Minnesota high school hockey and football player. So Minnesota continues to produce players, and it's obviously exciting to have them right in our backyard.
Thanks, Judd. Good luck.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Judd? Go ahead, Jess.
Hi, Judd. Thank you for giving us a couple minutes here today. I just had a kind of a logistical question about the decentralized draft. Obviously, Billy and his crew will be at Tria Rink. Will you have representatives in Los Angeles as well, or how is this going to work, and kind of how is the adjustment going to the new way of doing it?
We will have representation in LA, but none of this. All the scouts will be in Minnesota. Management will be in Minnesota, so we'll be working, out of a war room setting, much like what we experienced during COVID. I believe we'll have media representation and hockey ops more or less for a meet and greet in LA, because I do know quite a few players are going. But it won't be, hockey or management or personnel on the scouting staff.
And for somebody in your position, how do you balance the fun and the excitement with the pressure of these next 2 days coming up, and what it means for the future of the team?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, the work we put the work in. I mean, there's always a level of confidence in the work that was done and the trust of the supporting staff. I mean, we have great scouts. We all get along, so we're excited to get together, but we also know it's a work week, so it is a bit of a balancing act, getting together, the morale, the camaraderie. Saturday night is fun. We know that these next couple of days are about work first.
For an extraordinary advantage in sports, you need a game plan. For an extraordinary advantage everywhere else, all you need is Acrisure. With a high-tech human approach to insurance, cybersecurity, and more, Acrisure helps you take care of what you care about. That makes winning easy. See what Acrisure's extraordinary advantage can do for you at Acrisure.com.